Hi, everyone. Welcome, dreamers. Welcome to Chasing Dreams Thursdays. My name is Lisa McLean, and I am the founder and CEO of Lisa McLean Publications. We are a company that helps authors to self publish as well as we publish our own children's books. So happy to be here. I look forward to these sessions every week, brighten my day, get me to talk about something that I'm so passionate about, which is really just helping authors to tell their story, to chase their own dreams. So welcome, welcome. Hi, Michael. Hi, Aria. So good to see you. I'm excited that you're here. Starting a little late, I do apologize, but I'm so happy that we could get this done. So, you know, our routine, we always start by celebrating the little wins for this week. So, feel free to put in the chat what your win was towards chasing those dreams and accomplishing those big, audacious goals this week. And I will share with you what I think is my little step that I made towards progressing towards accomplishing my own goals. And it's always such a challenge, right? Because there's always so much that I try to make steps on, and it's always hard to choose which one I want to share. Hi, Nikki. Thanks for joining. But I think what I want to share tonight, which is actually an initiative that I'm going to be introducing to you tonight, with the hope that it will be launching on Monday. And my big step this week was, yes, it's publishing. And yes, it's one of those areas where it's simply, it's pretty straightforward and there's nothing overly complicated. I mean, you have a manuscript, you publish, you do some marketing. But it is like every other business. You do have to be creative. You do have to think about the needs of your audience constantly and try to come up with ways to encourage your audience, encourage other writers to get started, to get over that kind of hurdle of intimidation. And so I'm always trying to think of new ways to do that, drawing on my experiences in education and seeing how to pull that together. And so this week, I enlisted the help of all of my wonderful mentors and masterminders and decided that I'd try something new. And I think that's my little step this week, reminding myself that as an entrepreneur, we have to be so open to trying different things, trying different techniques to reach our customers or audience, whatever it is that your little niche looks like and who you're catering to. So that was my challenge this week, really trying to brainstorm and come up with new ideas to meet you where you are so that I can help you to share your stories and chase your dreams. So we'll be sharing more about that today. So please post in the chat what was your little step that you took to chase your dreams this week, because that's so exciting and we need to celebrate each other and celebrate our milestones. So before I jump into my announcement, let's talk about the topic for tonight, which is start small. Start small. One of the things that I think intimidates most new authors, they have an idea for a book, but the idea of writing a book can seem really intimidating, especially if you've never done this before, especially if you don't have a habit, of writing and writing each day. So my message to you tonight is, and my 3 takeaways is, start small. We have stories to tell. And I think it's really important, if there is a burning desire on your heart, if there's that weight to write and to share your story or to share a story in the form of a book, that there's a reason why that burning desire is there. I do believe that it is something that's calling you, and I do believe it's something that you should honor and see it through. But it can be absolutely intimidating. And I would never suggest that you should embrace it fearlessly and jump in, because that can be an absolute turnoff, because you may jump in, feel like you're in over your head, and just abandon your project altogether, which is not a good idea because somebody out there needs this book. That's why that pull is there. There is an audience, whether it's one person, whether it's 50, whether it's 100. There's somebody there who needs to hear about your experiences and hear about the story that you're dying to share, these lessons you've learned. So my number one takeaway in starting small, sometimes you just need to start with a word. Sometimes you just need to get into a habit and get into a routine of writing. And if that's one word, write a word. Write a word each day, and then challenge yourself after about 2 or 3 weeks to write a sentence. And then challenge yourself to write a paragraph. And then challenge yourself to write a page. And you'll find that the more you show up to write, and the more that you build on top of these little steps, a word becomes a sentence, becomes a paragraph, is the more I believe you'll find that those creative juices start to flow. And I don't think this is something that's absolutely peculiar to writing. I think it pertains to any art form, any discipline really. But I think if you were to jump into dance, into music, into learning to play an instrument, you start with notes, you build to chords. And the more that you learn and the more that you develop this discipline of showing up every day and doing a little bit, is the more excitement and the more energy that builds inside that fuels you to do a little bit more, and to expand. Hi, Gail. Thanks for joining us. So that's my first little suggestion to just starting small. Start small. Words, then sentences, and paragraphs, then stories. And then when you think you're ready, my tip number 2, and I say this to my coaching community all the time. Maybe you're not ready for that novel yet. Write a blog post. And I'm sure most of you know what a blog post is. For those of you who don't, it's kind of like writing a journal. And your blog post does not necessarily have to be a reflection on how you feel for that day. I mean, really, you're creating what you want, right? So it could be a reflection of your day. It could be a reflection on different topics, different themes. They could be short stories. They could be poems. Really, you are creating your own space, and you're creating a creative mindset and creative goals for yourself. So start a blog. If you commit to a blog post every 2 weeks, every 2 weeks you show up and you write a poem. Every 2 weeks you show up and you write a reflection on a book you read or an experience you've had. What ends up happening is all of these blog posts get you into a routine of writing, number one. And if you find that there's a common theme between all of them that holds them together, this common thread, they become the foundation for your book. So what you've done is committed every 2 weeks to writing a chapter of your book. And before you know it, you'll have an entire book. So start a blog. You don't have to publish it online. You can if you want. It can easily be a newsletter that you email to friends and family, just so that it makes you feel that energy and that rush that comes with sharing your work. All right, so that's my number 2 tip. Number 1, I said start small. Number 2, so a sentence, a word a day, and build up. Number 2, start a blog and share it. And my number 3, hello, Amari's mom. Thank you so much for joining. Good to see you. It's the first time seeing you. Happy to see new faces all the time. And my number 3 step and suggestion would be to join a writing community. Now, there are many. And the beautiful thing with the last couple of years is that there's so many writing communities that are available online. Different countries, different methodologies, different, ranging from really structured to very kind of loose and open-ended in how they write. So it's easy to find a space that will suit where you're at and your particular writing style at that point in time. So join a writing community. There are a lot of what we call drop-in classes where, oh, thank you, Aria. Thanks for sharing. There are a lot of communities where you literally can show up and just write for an hour. No expectations. They give you a prompt. It gets you going. There are some spaces where maybe you write for a little less and they give you a prompt and it's just a little bit of guidance. There's some you write, they give you a prompt, and then you get the opportunity to share and you get the opportunity to have your work critiqued. So it really depends on your level of courage, because if you're just starting out, maybe you don't want a group that's going to give you a lot of critique, but you may appreciate a group that's going to walk you through steps and give you a little bit more structure. Or maybe you're one of those that just wants to kind of explore. So you want a group where you drop in and there's no specific agenda, maybe a prompt, or you can work on your own process. So choose what works for you and your personality and the stage that you're at. But I truly believe if you're just starting out and feeling intimidated about this writing process, finding a community and playing around with a few, seeing what's available, is another good place to start. Hello, Ramrock Speaks. Thank you so much for joining. Good to see you. So just to kind of recap what we were talking about tonight, which is the thought of writing a novel, of writing an entire book, can seem a little bit intimidating if you're not someone who has already played with writing. And so my suggestion is do not start there, because you don't want to jump in, feel overwhelmed, and then abandon this project altogether. Start small. Number one, just by developing a writing habit and writing a word a day for a couple of weeks, and then build up to a sentence and a paragraph and then longer pieces. Number two, start a blog. Start a blog on anything you want. It could be a blog on poetry. It could be a blog on your reflections on a particular topic. But start a blog, either publish it online or share it with your friends and family, just that you get that feeling of what it's like to have other people digesting your work and giving you feedback. And number three, join a drop-in writing group. It's a great way to feel, that camaraderie that comes with being part of a community and finding a group that suits where you're at in your writing journey, whether you want something that's a little bit flexible or you want something that's very structured. That's my takeaway. I do believe that if you have a passion for writing, it's something that you should pursue, not necessarily full time, but definitely if something is calling you, I think you need to honor that call, because ultimately it means that there's somebody out there that needs to share in that journey who's going to benefit from whatever it is that you are creating, because that's what it is. It is a creation, right? And an extension of ourselves. The other thing I could suggest as well, and this is like my little grotto, is if you've been experimenting with poetry and short stories, there are a lot of magazines, literature magazines, that are always accepting submissions. They'll ask you for 2 or 3 poems, or they'll ask you for a short story. It does not become their property. They will, they may ask that you just don't share it for 6 months, 3 to 6 months, something like that. Each one is different, but that's also a good space to kind of get your feet wet, throw your content out, see what the feedback is like, try a number of different journals and different styles. And in the same way that writing a blog allows you to build up a body of work, writing for magazines allows you to do that as well. Many of them are completely online. And so because more people have been able to start publications online, it actually gives you more options. You're not vying for as few spots in just a handful of journals anymore. So be brave. Trust yourself, take a chance on yourself, and start small. Any questions for me on that? Let me know. Absolutely. I would say competitions are good as well. And I did not remember that. There are quite a lot of literacy competitions. JCDC is the Jamaica Cultural Development Commission. And so they run competitions annually that kind of center around our independence and emancipation celebrations. But you'll find that there are a lot of literacy groups online. In fact, there's some really good organizations that you should join as an independent author because they facilitate a lot of competitions. There was one that I was looking at recently, the Book Life. The Book Life. I'll look it up afterwards and post the link in the chat. They have a competition. They have 2 competitions that they've been running. The one for fiction writing just closed, and they have the one for nonfiction opening. I came across another one recently, don't remember where, and they were doing a first line, literally a competition to come up with the most intriguing first line for a book. As little as that, but that is so impactful, right? You're welcome, Amari's mom. I'm really glad that you're finding this helpful. So competitions are also a good way to jump in and explore. There is normally a cost, whereas with a lot of the journals that I was suggesting that you explore, they rarely ask for a fee to consider your manuscript, your short story, your poem. And some of them, depending on how large they are, how new they are, may actually have a budget to pay contributors as well. So that's also a plus. But look at competitions. And I would say for competitions, not even just for short stories and poems, but once you've actually published, there are competitions to enter your book into that give you that extra little bit of credibility for your audience. And a little bit of credibility if you're trying to work your way into the school market, the textbook market, that kind of thing. So definitely something you should look at as well. I know we did a session where I discussed that a little bit more. So I'll definitely try to revisit it and highlight some organizations that have really good competitions that you want to look at, either right before you published, so once you actually have a manuscript, and once you have published within that kind of like that first year. Yes, thank you for sharing that, Gail. Commonwealth Writers had a competition recently, and there was one for, I feel like, could have been attached to the Commonwealth Writers. There was one for playwrights as well. So, I mean, don't try to box yourself in with writing. Writing isn't only just a novel, but there's so many genres to explore. Short stories, poems, even within the novel, fiction versus nonfiction, and then of course plays. Recently, Kingston Creative, I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. Hi Jan, thanks for joining. Kingston, it was not Kingston Creative. It was a local animation business. And they were looking for persons who were comfortable with writing scripts for animated films for children. So there actually is quite a range of opportunities for you to kind of flex your writing muscles before you commit wholeheartedly to a novel, or really just if you're not thinking of writing a novel, so many other avenues that you can pursue as a writer. I agree, Gail. I agree. I did not read the message before the last one. Perhaps we should have a mini competition on a live one evening. You know, that would be really fun. That would be fun. We just have to decide, how do we determine the winners? Because we really are winners just because we've shown up and tried. I want you to understand how significant that is. Just showing up and trying. Showing up, trying, getting overwhelmed, not wanting to try, and then trying again. That is its own victory. And you need to celebrate that, because anything that's new is hard. Anything that's new is hard. Anything that's worthwhile is hard. But as I said at the beginning, if you have this burning desire to share a story, whether this is fictional or non-fictional, if you have a book that you're dying to write, there's a reason that pull is there. there is somebody that you need to write that for. So don't disregard it. Let's just find easy ways to get you going so that you don't feel frustrated. And if you miss those tips, feel free, once we've finished and wrapped up, to start at the beginning of the recording. It will be posted on Instagram Live, on my Instagram page. It will be posted on our YouTube page, and it will be posted on our Facebook page. Watching the time, because I know we're a little over our usual time, and I'm really excited to share. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk about small steps today is because I'm rolling out, launching a new initiative for writers who need to take those small steps. And it's a 6-week initiative. It launches on Monday, which is a very important day because it is my birthday. So it's being launched on the 10th of the 10th, and it's called The Vineyard. Fancy name. That was the product of my niece, who, when I explained the idea, she's like, oh my gosh, Auntie Lisa, it's like having a seed, and then we have a fruit, and then it blossoms into a vine. And she didn't get to wine, but I'm going to add wine, and we get wine. So we're starting the Vineyard community, and it's a 6-week project where if you join the community, every day I will send you a writing prompt. And you are only required to write a sentence, 1 sentence every day. So we write for 6 days. And on the 7th day, we are going to have a party. So on the 7th day, you get your Zoom link, we sign in, and you can bring tea, or you can bring wine, or whatever it is that makes you happy when you party. And I want you to choose 1 sentence of all the sentences that you wrote over those 6 days. Pick the one that you think is going to have the most impact on your audience. And you can decide, do you want impact, meaning just laughter and share joy and glee, or you want impact that's, think about that. Whatever impact, I want you to pull of those 6 sentences. Which one do you think is going to impact your audience the most? Throw it out there. We're all going to share a sentence. Nobody's critiquing. It's not a space to critique. It's a space to share and just celebrate writing and get into a habit of writing. And as Gail put it, flex our writing muscle. Thank you, Aria, for the happy birthday greetings. Amari's mom, I am going to look for you. I'm glad you like that. Thank you, Aria. So it'll run for 6 weeks. You will have to sign into the community. So I'll make sure that there's a community link on our website, iamlisamclean.com. There will also be a link in our bio link tree in our bio link in Instagram. Yeah, the brain is fuzzy when it comes to all this tech stuff. My students laugh at me all the time. There's a $20 fee to join, and it covers all 6 weeks. You get your prompts every day, emailed to you, and then we'll send you the link. We have a wonderful party once a week, and we celebrate. And let's have some fun. Let's have some writing fun. And if you know anyone who's been stalling, who needs a little kind of push to get started, this might be it. This just might be it. And based on how that goes, it might just give them the courage they need to keep going. Amari from, I'm counting on you. Yes, I will definitely make sure that link is up and running later today. I'll post it in the chat, post it in the bio, post it everywhere. It will even be on the website. In fact, let me put the website here in the comment section so that you do have that for sure. And it will be there. Once I've signed off, I will get that done before I turn in. That is supposed to be a common I at the beginning of I am Lisa McLean. So let me fix it because it's looking like an L. You know, it's funny. I've spent over 20 years teaching children primarily. and explored writing children's books just because I felt the need to see more diversity in what we were offering in the classroom. And I felt the need to see more books that really kind of spoke to our history and our culture in a way, in a more insightful way. And from that really kind of birthed this intense desire to work with other authors, because our stories are interesting. I love sitting and listening to people talk about their journeys and what they've accomplished and what they want to accomplish in the future and how they want to help other people. And yeah, this has truly been something that has added so much light to my life recently. So happy you're all here to share in it. Any questions before we sign out? Just a reminder, our Vineyard community launches with our first sentence on Monday morning. We launch and we will have a grand party to celebrate how we're going to wow and blow each other over with our writing at the end of the week. So any questions before we go? Whether it's on the Vineyard community or what we talked about today with starting small steps. Any thoughts you want to share? Any victories you want to celebrate? We have a question coming from Facebook. Hi, Jonathan. Thank you so much for joining. Is there somewhere to share an inclusive book? Explain a little bit further what you mean by an inclusive book, so I can better answer your question. Nikki is asking weekly, or it's going to be daily prompts. So it's a daily prompt for 6 days. So we run from Monday to Saturday, and then we party on Sunday. And I'm thinking Sunday afternoon, around 4 or 5-ish, when we've all kind of chilled and we're not, we need that little push to get ready for Monday. So it'll help us to wind down a bit. So a daily prompt, and you're going to choose of all the prompts which one you think you want to share and will have the greatest impact on all of us who are hanging out together. Yes, Michael, right on, right on. Hello, Marky Stepper 9. Thank you so much for joining. You've kind of caught us on the tail end. We were talking about small steps to getting started in writing. A novel can be a little overwhelming, so we talked about some ideas to help you to warm up and get going. So definitely replay the video once we've done. And we talked about our new Vineyard community that launches on Monday. Hi, Dr. Carolyn. Nice to see you. So yeah, we just take a look at the video when we've done, so you can look at some small steps to writing, but also check out our Vineyard community. All links, imlisamclean.com. Those will be uploaded later today. So when you're up in the morning, you can check that out. And in the bio, it's a writing community. You get a writing prompt every day for 6 days. You just need to write one sentence. And on Sunday, we share. And you pick the sentence that you think will just have the greatest impact on us. It's a 6-week commitment. We show up for each other. We party on this Sunday, and it's a $20 fee just to subscribe. So hope you'll be able to make it. Share with somebody who you know has been dying to get started and has been feeling intimidated about the writing process. Jonathan has a question about inclusive books and adding diversity and finding books for my own children that include works by people like us and not the standard colonial texts. Jonathan, it's interesting. I'm finding that the market is really open to diverse books with diverse characters and histories and cultures. And I have found a couple of things have worked for me, for my books, within my local community, going around speaking to schools, speaking to teachers. They have been interested. So speaking to people who who are interacting with children all the time, they don't know where to find books. And so I find we have to go to them as authors. Also, making them accessible to libraries, schools definitely, not just here, but abroad as well. And I think you'll find that once you publish and it's available in any, I mean, anywhere that sells books, any bookstore in the States, online bookstores, Amazon, and online distributors. Once you've done your own marketing and that's continuous, I think you'll find that your audience will find you. So once you are constantly sharing information about books that you have written that have these kinds of topics, you will find people out there who are searching for books about diversity. There are a lot of online groups where that is their focus. There is the Caribbean Edge program that's run. They have a group on Facebook. They're pretty easy to find. Or if you scan through my Facebook posts, you should see their links in there somewhere, because I've shared my books on some of their programs. They're very big on looking for books that have Caribbean representation. And Caribbean representation that's very positive and really trying to create a more holistic view of our culture and our history. Did I answer your question? I hope I did. I hope I did. There are, I think there's an effort locally for traditional publishers to attract more authors in that regard. Most are self-publishing just because it's an easier process. There is one small press in Jamaica that has a lot of children's books written by Jamaican authors, and the themes are actually really positive and beautifully illustrated, and that would be, I think it's Blue Banyan Press. They have work by authors like Rebecca Tortello. Oh my gosh, I'm seeing the faces of all of these wonderful Jamaican authors that I know, and their names are slipping me. Paula Ann Porter just did a book. I think they have a book released by Olive Senior as well. So there's definitely more on the marketplace. But I really feel like if you have something that you have written, you make sure it's available everywhere as much as possible, and in as many different formats, whether it's an ebook and a hard copy, and just market it. Send the word out, because your community will support you and be able to make those connections for you with teachers and other persons who are looking for books like that. Really good question. I'm glad you asked it. I'm actually in the process of finalizing another one of my children's books, and it's so important, I think, for us to really look at what we are producing and making sure we're challenging the status quo on our history, really forcing kids to think through things very deeply. It can't be that they're studying the Jamaican curriculum in grades 4 to 6, and all they're doing is regurgitating dates and names of our heroes, and really not fully appreciating and understanding the resilience of our people, what it took to get to this stage, what it took for our ancestors to survive displacement and to survive slavery in a new space, to, this march through independence, having so many visionaries, so many leaders that saw so much for us as a people. These are things that we have to talk about. We cannot allow that kind of legacy to be overcome and overshadowed by negativity, not at all. So it's so important that we write these books and we make sure that our kids have access to them. Yes, dying to share my new book. I'm excited about it. It's one of the reasons I wrote Freedom Field, because there was so much resilience on the heels of emancipation. So many slaves were like, there must be something more. And that pushed to kind of create something else for themselves post-slavery. So definitely, let's get those books written. Let's talk about it. All right, any more questions for me? Start small, that's our topic for today. Join our Vineyard community. Let's write a sentence a day and party on Sundays to celebrate. And check out my website, IamLisaMcLean.com. Lots to offer, lots of support to give you if you are interested in self-publishing and getting started. So happy to see you all tonight. This was just an absolute enjoyable evening. Great questions, great conversation, wonderful company. Thank you for coming. Thank you for showing up. And as usual, as I close, remember to chase those dreams. Chase those dreams a bit at a time. And remember to share us. Happy Thursday, everyone. Have a great weekend. Pressing the wrong button to end the broadcast. Here we go again. Happy Thursday,